4 times I sat across a table and watched them choose someone else. The 5th time, they called to say the partnership was mine. I told them I'd already accepted an offer elsewhere. The silence on the other end of the phone lasted a long time. They hadn't expected the script to change. I'd spent 8 years in corporate law. It's an environment where partnership is the only destination that matters. If you aren't moving toward it, you're essentially standing still. Every year you're passed over, you feel a little smaller. You start to see yourself through the eyes of the people who keep saying, "not yet." When an institution defines the only path to success, they effectively control how you value yourself. Your worth becomes tied to their permission. The first 3 times they rejected me, the reasons were always vague. They talked about timing, fit, and how competitive the year was. They followed every rejection with the same line: "We really value your work." It's the kind of phrase meant to keep you billing hours while they delay the reward. After the 4th time, something clicked. I realized the assurances weren't a promise of future success. They were a tactic to maintain the present. Once you stop believing the internal narrative, the walls of the institution start to look a lot thinner. I decided to see what was actually on the other side. I began speaking to recruiters, not out of anger, but for data. I needed to know what I was actually worth outside of that one boardroom. I found that the firm's leverage over me relied on my own isolation. Because I hadn't looked at the market in years, I was only negotiating against their opinion of me, not my actual value. My profile was more than 8 years of tenure. I had niche expertise and a client book I'd built. The firm saw a flatline, an almost ready candidate, but the market saw something else. Within a month, 3 other firms expressed serious interest. Your professional value isn't a matter of opinion, it's a matter of demand. And that demand doesn't exist inside a committee room, it exists in the market. I took my time. I assessed their cultures and asked the questions I'd been too afraid to ask before. For the first time in nearly a decade, I wasn't the one being interviewed, I was the one evaluating. By the 4th month, I had an offer. It didn't just match what partnership would have given me, it exceeded it in salary, equity, and the freedom to run my own practice. I accepted the offer on a Thursday. I didn't tell a soul. I just sat with the knowledge that the leverage had finally shifted. Having a signed offer from the outside changes your posture. You aren't asking for a seat at the table anymore. You've already found a better room. The following Tuesday, the managing partner called me in. He had the big news from the committee. He told me the timing was finally right, framing the partnership as a reward for my patience and loyalty. I let him finish the entire performance. Then I told him I'd already resigned and was starting my notice period. I watched the practiced confidence drain out of his face. It was the moment he realized the person he was talking to wasn't the same person who had been asking for a promotion for 4 years. In that moment, I wasn't a subordinate waiting for a verdict. I was a competitor who had already left the field. Within 6 months, 3 of my key clients moved their business to follow me. The firm didn't just lose an employee, they lost the revenue that employee generated. A year later, that same managing partner reached out on LinkedIn. It wasn't personal anymore. It was just a professional acknowledgement of a peer. Too many institutions confuse loyalty with availability. They think because you're still there, you'll always be there. But when you leave, that illusion of loyalty disappears. What's left is the cold math of what you actually brought to the table and what they're now missing. You need to know your market value, not because you're looking for the exit, but because without it, you're negotiating with someone who knows more about your worth than you do. Have you ever been overlooked until the moment you were leaving? Tell me your story in the comments. Subscribe for more on the reality of the modern workplace.